You're listening to the B&H Photography Podcast. For 50 years, B&H has been the professional source for photography, video, audio, and more. For your favorite gear, news, and reviews, visit us at bnh.com or download the B&H app to your iPhone or Android device. Now here's your host, Derek Fassbender.
Welcome, listeners. I'm Derek Fassbender, host of the B&H Photography Podcast.
And I'm Jill Waterman, the podcast's senior creative producer.
And I'm Mike Weinstein, the show's technical producer and audio engineer.
Summertime is the season for travel. With this in mind, we're taking you on a short trip around the block to revisit a few of our favorite encounters from B&H's Bild Expo 2025. During 2 days in June, well over 10,000 attendees converged at New York's Jacob Javits Center to be inspired, educated, and entertained by more than 100 presenters in photography and media. Visitors were also wowed by a world-class trade show featuring hundreds of vendors and partners, not to mention the many other ancillary photo walks, meetups, and parties taking place during the run of the show. Throughout the venue, there was a palpable buzz of excitement and inspiration as attendees connected with industry leaders to celebrate their shared passion for visual storytelling and innovation. Everywhere you looked, there were opportunities to forge meaningful connections, discover the latest creative tools, and immerse yourself in hands-on experiences. We were there too, at a pop-up recording station adjacent to the Bild stages, where we shared favorite listens from B&H's official photography podcast and offered advice to the many inquisitive attendees wanting to start up a podcast of their own. Over the next hour, we'll hear from 3 of our visitors with inspiring stories to tell. Philadelphia-based photographer, entrepreneur, and community organizer CJ Wolfe, New York-based filmmaker, producer, and podcaster Mariah Clinton, and Canadian-born globetrotting visual engineer and environmental activist Benjamin Von Wong. Our first segment has a serendipitous twist as it doubles as a teaser for our new monthly series, Next Frame, which debuts on August 28th. During these shows, we'll introduce up-and-coming creative talents who are making an impact, yet who don't always get the visibility they deserve. We're whetting your appetite here with a short intro to CJ's ambitious creative enterprise, but stay tuned for more in the months ahead. Mike, let's roll those tapes. So, just tell us your name, tell us what you do.
Yeah, my name is CJ Wolfe. First and foremost, thank you for having me here.
Of course.
The B&H Bild Expo 2025. What I do is I'm a photographer, founder of Immortal Vision Studio. And basically, Immortal Vision Studio operates as an Airbnb for photographers and filmmakers to rent out our space. We have 2 spaces in Philadelphia that connects resources, opportunities, and jobs for individuals and creators. And we also have a creative agency that produces content for brands and companies and storytelling videos for nonprofits.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, I got to ask before we really dive into this, Philly, right?
Yep.
How many times are we going to hear John in this interview?
I know how to switch it up, so you probably won't hear John a lot. But, if you give me a John, I'm going to give you a John. And that's how we're going to do this, John.
So tell us the backstory.
Yeah.
That was what really grabbed me.
Yeah, absolutely. I just was a kid growing up in North Philadelphia playing basketball, and basketball was my identity growing up through middle school, high school, and I always knew I had some type of creative juices in me, but it just was never accessible to me, and I never wanted to be outside of my box because I was identified through basketball. And once I got to college, that changed everything. When I was in my dorm room, I'm getting my refund checks as a collegiate athlete, but that just wasn't enough. And training 2 times a day just wasn't enough for me. And my friend, she had a camera in her room, and I asked her, hey, can I borrow this? She come from East Hartford, Connecticut, and I come from North Philadelphia. So the incomes on families on what they're making is a big difference. And that's why she had a T7 sitting in her room in 2017. And I'm like, cool, this is a gift here, and you letting it collect dust. Let me try to use it to my advantage. So with that, being a collegiate athlete, I hit up my friends, my teammates that was about to graduate, and I'm like, graduation is around the corner. Let me take your photos for free. Let me just get some practice in. And me just continue to grind it out. I learned about credit. And my senior year of college, I was able to get my 5D Mark III and put it all on credit. And the rest from there was history. And I just really studied and understand business and understand my creative eye, and went from consuming content to studying content, studying the industry, and learning as I went. And that just led me to opportunities to shoot NFL players, hip hop artists, NBA players. Oh my God, travel to different countries, and sometimes it still feel unreal. And throughout the process of me doing all this amazing stuff and the camera allowing me to get there, I was always about community because I always wanted to be that person that the next person didn't have. And that's why I started Immortal Vision Studio, to give other photographers and creators access to a network, an opportunity to grow.
I love that, because a lot of creatives, it's always about me. I'm the creative, and you might build out a little team, but that team is to serve you, and it's you when you get busier. I love seeing people pouring back into not just the community, but the creative community. And you don't see it as much. It's harder to do, and your heart really has to be in the right place, because, again, the last person that sat at this table, big point of the conversation was access. And that's kind of how it started with you, is having access to the gear. And now I love that you've been able to get your feet grounded in the creative side of things. And what did you do? You took that access that you once didn't have, that somebody allowed you, and now you're taking that access and helping other people have access to the gear. What kind of inspiration have you gotten from the people that you have helped provide access to?
Yeah, absolutely. Just, you would think it would be like about some creative stuff, but it was more so about life. I'm 29. Our entire team is under 30 years old.
Wow.
So I'm like the older guy of the group now, because every time our new internship class start, that we bring in like 3 college interns, they getting a little younger and younger. I'm getting older. So I'm like the older guy of the group now, even though I'm 29. Some people are like, wow, that's still young, but it's still a lot of things that I don't know that's going on. They keep me on track with like TikTok, with paid ads, with Meta. Like, they keeps me up to date on what our photographers and filmmakers that's written our space. They keep me up to date on what they want to see, how they want to feel, what type of music they want to listen to when they come in there. Because our whole thing within our studio, why we had so much success as well when we talk about the access, is to give them the plate with as many things on there as much as possible. So what that looks like is, if you run our studio space, it's just not a code that you enter and like, okay, go create. We have a person there to greet you. When you fill out the form to book our space, the actual type of music you like, what background you using, do you need a tether cord, do you have a Digitech? All those questions to cater to you, just as if you're in a restaurant or a hotel, right? So that was one of the things that I always learn from them, like how I can be better as a servant and as a leader, and just about life. And then the other stuff on the creative side just follows through, right?
What was your original inspiration? I'm curious always. I like to see how people got in, whether it's like, for me, music videos was always kind of like my gateway into the creative side of things. Like, I always loved music, and I always thought having a visual behind it was super cool, because it was like, that was your opportunity to see. And again, I'm older. You think you're old at 29. I'm another generation older. And it was like, this is when you had to look up song lyrics on the inside of the tape cover to find out like what the song was about. And then music videos, growing up in the 80s for us was like, you had a chance to see the creative visualization of what your favorite artists, like what a song meant, or what how a band wanted their vision to be perceived. So that was like a big thing for me growing up. Was there something from your youth that was like, was it, covers, you're a basketball player, covers a Slam magazine, was it Sports Illustrated, was it National Geographic? Was there any like visual aspect that you were like, wow, this is really like, I love photo, I love video, I love this or that?
Yeah. If I would have stayed with it, I don't know where I would be at in this world. I always say I would be like so much ahead, but I used to code. And you familiar with MySpace?
Oh, yeah.
So on MySpace, I was making everyone profile. So I was 8 years old, making everyone a page on MySpace. It was a time, I think it was like top 24. I think it was like the standard. I knew how to do like top 1. So when I started customizing these pages, I fell in love with fashion. So at that time, you had the Kanye West, you had Pharrell, you had the Bape, you had the Ice Cream, you had Lil Wayne with the Carter. He just dropped Carter 6. So
I was gonna say, you had the Carter when it was up here.
Exactly. So all of those things, and I used to look at those pictures of Kobe Bryant or them winning the championship, and I'm like, wait, how is the subject so bright? I know the arena and the stadium is bright, but how is it so bright? Now, I seen this one photo of Kobe Bryant. He was standing on a scorer's table, like kind of ripping his shirt, ripping his jersey, and I seen a flash up top. I said, oh, there's a strobe up there. And that's how they are capturing these images. Well, how is it connecting? Oh, there's a transmitter. Oh, photography is cool. And as I just was building out MySpace pages and all of those things and listening to music on the MySpace page and stuff and customizing it for people, they would give me a vision. This is what I like. While I was seeing him around the neighborhood, I'm like, okay, he likes skateboarding, or he likes basketball, or this girl, she likes fast fashion. Let me create their profile around that, and look up a few years later, I'm like, wow, that played a real big part of like my creative journey.
Now you're speaking my language, MySpace. You heard that? CJ was like, he's like, you know MySpace. You're old, right? You know MySpace. He's like, I already know. I know this guy. This guy had music. He had the moving border on the top.
Exactly.
But I think that's such an interesting thing to pull up. Is like, it feels like forever ago, but it's really not that long ago that we were designing MySpace pages and something like that. And you talking about like the picture of Kobe, I think is such a cool way to kind of put it all in perspective, where it's like you knew what you liked. You didn't have to know, because I always say you don't know what you don't know. Mm-hmm. You saw something, you liked it. You had that desire to say like, all right, what? Let me reverse engineer this. Why do I like this? Mm-hmm. Okay, I like it because it has this contrast, or it has this look to it. Well, what gives it that look? Exactly. And that's how a lot of people, like me, when I first started getting in, I was always enamored with fashion photography because it was like top tier photography. It was always lit so beautifully. And obviously fashion is, for me, it's like, I don't have it, but I can appreciate it. So, and I think for me, that was like the intersection of like things that are beautiful and really well done and held to a high standard. And it was reverse engineering fashion magazine shoots and looking at the catchlights, looking at where the shadows fall. And it was kind of similar to you with the Kobe photo, where you're taking something that you don't really have a knowledge of, but you have an appreciation of.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of times we confuse knowledge with appreciation. You don't have to have knowledge of something to appreciate it.
Exactly.
Now you're at a point where you're helping people who have that appreciation. It's like this full circle moment. That's gotta feel
And I
amazing.
love what you said. I'm gonna take that with me. Knowledge and appreciation. And as you say that, my whole journey just been appreciation of things. And I just found out the knowledge later. And I think a lot of times when people try to get into stuff or trying to learn different things, they think they need the knowledge. As I'm sitting here, people think I have the newest gear of everything. We don't. But we have the appreciation like to figure it out and build upon it till we get it. So I love what you said though, because that can be in a perspective to so many things, knowledge and having an appreciation of things. So that's interesting. Thank you for that.
Nah, of course. So now I want to know where you're going from here. What's on the goal board?
Yeah, I'm in inspiration mode, if you will. I'm in album mode right now. And when I say that, my team laughs, but it's like I'm figuring out inspiration for myself and trying to get back to like my roots. Philadelphia has some cool stuff there. I think we kind of hit our mark and have a good stride there. So now we're trying to get our studio on some wheels in some other cities. And I think bigger impact and finding more people, finding more creatives that want to be behind us and finding other people that align with us to put us in position to do that. So for me, we have a lot of things next up, but I think the most important thing for me is I may not see it when that fully comes into fruition of like my company and stuff. And that's why it's called Immortal Vision, right? Something that's going to be legendary and hopefully it outlasts me. So I'm just taking a journey. First 5 years, I was running super fast and I got to do this, I got to do that. But I realized like you can scale in a way where it don't have to be fast and it don't have to be a lot of commotion that's not really going anywhere. You can make those big strides. So getting some wheels. New York is right down the street. I love New York. I've been to New York, about 6 times in the last 2 months.
You're like, New York, I'm coming for you.
Yeah, my friend, he's living out here. He was my first college roommate. So, yeah, man.
So I got a question. You mentioned that you're basically the old guy in your organization at this point. What do you see as the biggest shift or change from when you were first starting out? What are the kids coming in now looking at? What's the biggest change you've seen?
Yeah, I think off the bat, it's the AI portion of things, and I love it. It's productivity gets us there quicker and faster. And I love it because I remember in one meeting I was thinking, I'm like, oh, what should we do? And one of our studio associates was like, we should not be thinking here. Because it was a project that we had to do very quickly. You know, the creative industry, everything is fast. And he was like, we should not be thinking. Like, what do you mean? We have AI. It can get us halfway or 70% to where we need, then we can figure out the rest later. I'm like, oh, okay. That's a new rule. Let's not think anymore, right? It shouldn't be or let me see about that or I don't know. We can work towards that answer. The other part of that is, of course, content right now is like huge. And I love that I'm not trying to be in my way with this. I'm still trying to figure it out. I love the place where content is going. I mean, even with like podcasting to streaming now, it's like opening up a new level to things. So streaming, they're like, hey, podcasting is great, but we should start our streaming services. Okay, vlogging on what we're doing is great, but people want to see it in real time. Even though it can be raw and authentic, but people want to see this in real time. They want to see when I walked up to Jill and told her about myself. They just don't want to hear the podcast. They want to see, how did you get here and sit down here? And what did that process feel like? Because maybe I want to do the same thing at an expo or something. And how do I do that? So with just them seeing the different things of like, CJ, this is great. We should do it for ourselves, but even for our clients, we should offer this for them. So that way that can open up a different revenue stream and we can be ahead of the curve as well. So there's some good stuff on there.
That's an interesting change. I didn't think about that. The live stream aspect now, where we are in a live stream culture, where, man, we had it easy. It's like pre-recorded. You can kind of fine tune the product and put it out. And now, why do you think it is that people want to see? Is it more an authenticity thing, do you think?
Yeah.
Or seeing behind the scenes?
Yeah, everything from the social media to like, let's just start with MySpace. Everything was like, okay, let me make it look picture perfect and then put it out. Let me make up my profile, then put it out. Then it comes to Instagram. Okay, we had short videos, but everything had to be on a digital camera. Hey, let me get a photographer to do this, or let me get a videographer to do my grand opening of my small business. Now people doing it on their phone. Or they created Instagram Live. They did it on the phone. So with the streaming, a lot of people are just interviewing people in front of their webcam. And then I can just go in there and the AI does it. It can just clip the clips for me. So if I want to go back in there and say, okay, let me go to when CJ was speaking on the B&H podcast and they were streaming for 5 hours, I can just clip that and now you can go see it. So yeah.
Mike, we're going to be out of jobs. We're going to have AI. AI is going to be sitting here asking CJ questions, and AI is going to be across the table editing it for me.
It's crazy.
It is. I mean, it's exciting. I think because there's a lot of people that fight it. They want to fight it.
Yeah, you can't.
And it's like, look, if people you want to say AI is bad, there's bad people in the world. We've been living with bad people for as long as people have been.
Yeah. You can't fight it, but I think it's just going to take the human connection to another level.
Yeah. Well, and it frees you up, too.
Yeah.
Like, using AI, I mean, we've been using it to make our lives easier. And I think it's really just, in what way do you use it? How do you take it to the next level? Are you using it for bad or using it for good? It's like anything else.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a weapon could also be a tool.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. So, yeah, I think it's going to be cool, though. You know, it's not going to take you out no jobs. You'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, to the future here. CJ, this is a good conversation. Look, I want to just shine a light on that again. Tell us the name of your studio, because I think that's awesome what you're doing.
Yeah, sure. Immortal Vision Studio on all platforms. Website as well. We got a lot of cool stuff, and it goes more down the line of like what we all about. It gives a full scope of our studio. But yeah, to anyone that's listening, or when this podcast come out, I'm always open to connect with people. If people are in Philadelphia area and they need a space, you know, they can always hit us up and we can always host people. And I'm looking forward to doing more cool stuff like this. And thank you all for doing something like this.
Of course.
This is cool. And not only that I can like get to know y'all, but y'all also helping other people tell their stories or have great conversations.
That's it.
It's all about the community.
That's it. Grow the community. And I think really we learn from each other. We inspire each other. And you never know who your story is impacting or who is drawing inspiration from you. I think we live in such a world now that is measured in analytics, and you can't measure inspiration. If that person doesn't click like, that person doesn't share, that person doesn't comment, that doesn't mean that they weren't, affected by it. That doesn't mean that they didn't see it. That doesn't mean that that person has that in their head, like, wow, that changed my life, that way of thinking. And I think we need to really sometimes just back off of the analytics. Do what we want because we want to do it. Put it out there to the audience that we may or may not even, sometimes you affect people that's not even in your audience, but just do it. If you're doing it authentically and you're doing it because you're passionate about it, which is what you're doing, you never know who's going to come across and be moved by it. So I want to thank you for everything you're doing, because the industry needs more people like that. The industry needs people who are not just looking in a mirror, who are really looking out there and saying, how can I take what I've learned and help others who were once in my shoes? So huge thank you to you, CJ, in New York. Look out, he's coming. He's taking over. He's bringing that John. Did I use it right? He's bringing that John up here?
Yeah, bringing that John out here and try to get a chopped cheese.
There you go.
Love.
CJ, that was great, man.
Thank you,
Not long after we wrapped things with CJ, I got into it with Emmy award-winning filmmaker Mariah Clinton, co-creator and co-host of the Little Souvenirs podcast. Here's a taste of our rap about how content creation is experienced across generational lines.
We are rolling? All right, good. So just tell us your name and what you do.
So my name is Mariah Clinton. I am a filmmaker and a podcaster, and I also work in film and television.
So Mariah and I, just for full disclosure here, I'm like, where do we want to go with this conversation? I'm like, we can go anywhere you want. And of course, the best conversations, the most authentic conversations, we always have them before we go live. And I'm looking over at our audio guy, Mike, and he's like, dude, he's giving me the let's roll. You're letting all the AC out. Close the window, close the door, get this thing going. So I'll catch everybody up on our conversation, right? We were talking about, we kind of started one thing. We're talking about filmmaking versus content creation.
Right.
But then it spun into this whole generational thing between boomers and millennials and Gen Z and Gen X and all the different generations. And we kind of were in the middle of that. So let's pick it up right there. We're both millennials.
Yes.
So we're on the same page. You're a filmmaker.
I am.
Like filmmaking, content creation, let's just dive in right there. Is there it's a fine line, or where does your passion lie? Is there any hot button issues or rubs that you have with where we are at in, where's society at? Where's the creative world at?
That's such a good question. We've evolved so much. And I think that filmmaking in its nature is such a creative medium. And it has gone in so many different directions because of the evolution of cameras and the evolution of audio equipment. If you look at what cameras you had to use on film and the access to be able to go to a rental house or own that camera and have the film, right, that you could purchase. And then you evolve and make it video and more digital. And the more digital it's become is the more accessible, in my opinion, it's become. And I've been forced to look at the merger between content creation and also I
love that
filmmaking.
merger.
It's been a merger.
It sounds so eloquent. It's like, yes.
I've been hearing stuff about mergers lately, so that's why it's in my brain. But I think, when you look at it, I've been forced to consider content creation in terms of filmmaking, because when I'm going online and I'm looking up filmmaking stuff, content creators come in my feed. So it forces me to stop and look.
You have to bridge that gap.
Right. That's a great word.
It's almost like, is it better to have that great art that nobody sees, or would you rather have something that you're maybe not as proud of, but it gets out to the masses, or you have to kind of spin a different direction, which I think is always the conversation in a creator's head. And anybody who says otherwise is lying. It's never completely for you, whether it's subconscious or not.
Right.
At some point you're in your head, and even if it's not in terms of social media, it's like art is for consumption. it may not be for sale, but it's for consumption.
Truth.
And sometimes it is for sale. So I think, where do we draw that line between...
You know, you're making me think about being a millennial, because on the podcast, my co-creator and co-founder, Kimberly Mallory, we often talk, her being a Gen Z, and she's my aunt also. She's a writer, I'm a filmmaker. And we talk about, you know, the ways we're similar, the ways we're different in our generations. But I'd say the biggest difference that I see is when I come home at night, I don't turn on the TV unless forced. My content, it comes from Netflix or even YouTube. Lately, I've found myself subscribing to someone's channel. My source of information, other than the news, that's the one staple that I watch, and the BBC. Other than that, I find that I'm not really drawn to television in the same way my aunt and my mom is a boomer, they watch movies. You know, they watch TV. And of course, as a filmmaker, I watch films, but my consumption of it is different. And that goes back to what you're saying about where do we find that content? Because as a filmmaker, my work goes to film festivals. And a lot of my colleagues, their work goes to film festivals. So if I want to watch something, I have to wait for it to be purchased, or I have to go to a film festival to see it.
It's a much different timeline and trajectory.
Definitely.
Where, and now I think you talked about accessibility earlier, which I love that you brought that term into it, because it's kind of like that. Everything's more accessible now, which can be good or bad.
Right.
Everyone has access to a platform, which can be good or it can be bad.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, for me, the conversation in my own creative ventures has been, how do I not cheapen my product? Or how do I take something that I'm still every bit as proud of and want to put out there?
Yeah.
But now, how do I use the positives of social media? I can use that platform and I can get something out there. So I can make the work I want to make, put it out there, and my audience will find me. And for me, I found that it's more of like a slow burn and that long game. I feel like we associate some of the ills of social media and the younger generations. I'm not going to throw groups out here so they don't come for me.
Don't come for him.
Don't come for me. But a lot of that is from like that need for virality, or we talked about it off mic.
Yeah.
And so I'll bring that back into the conversation. Is this, who are you creating for?
Right.
Are you solely like, content creation is such an easy term just to kind of blanket everything rather than trying to look for the perfect term. It's like, no, it's all right. It's content. We're creating it. Cool. We all know what we're talking about. I think for me, when you get into the weeds is, well, who are you creating it for? Why are you creating it? You know, it's like, are you an influencer couple who's just faking your entire life to put on an act? I feel like everyone's an actor now.
Right.
And I think authenticity, I want to see, I've kind of seen it make a comeback on socials. I love seeing somebody who just has a really interesting perspective or lives a really interesting life or is just real. Do you think that, it's so funny, like reality TV kind of ushered us into reality, but then it got so far away from reality that maybe real reality will...
I just had 2 Gen Xers tell me that MTV Real World, I don't know what reality TV is because I didn't grow up in the real world era when it was real vivid MTV down in the trenches. But I mean, like, I grew up on Teen Mom. Shout out. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. I grew up on Teen Mom. I am a fan. We'll leave it there.
Early MTV Real World, though. I mean, that is a great conversation to have. I mean, look, first couple of seasons of Real World before...
They were good. I'm not going to lie.
That was like,
good TV.
Because then, you had like the Desperate Housewives ushered us into a completely different depth of non-reality reality TV. If you went at like MTV Beach House, that was peak.
That was...
reality TV. That was like... You know, you were in that pool doing God knows what. That was as real as it gets. You didn't care about cameras. You were just in the moment.
Who was it? The Hills? What was the one in Orange County? Oh my gosh.
Is that The Hills, Spencer?
Heidi,
man,
Lauren,
we're getting way out of my... we're in the weeds now.
Oh my gosh, are we in the weeds? You know, back to what you were saying, though, about my take on it. I feel like this push and pull between, as a filmmaker and a creator, you feel this drive when you're presenting your work to critics, really, essentially. to be taken seriously. And I think that's the fine line between content creation and filmmakers, is like the level of how serious people take your profession. Are you a creator? Are you creative? Are you innovative? All of these terms that are thrown out there when your work is being presented. And, you're going up for the Academy, you're going up for the Emmys, you're being recognized in these big arenas, and people that have, quite frankly, changed the trajectory of filmmaking in many senses or kept the tradition. And then you have content creators, and now you have Webby Awards. And, so all of these different, again, intersections and mergers of the way that you're seeing them also be lifted up and the elevation of their craft too. So I do think it's possible for a content creator to use art in that form. I think the sad part is when you find out somebody's faking the story. And then you're like, I'm in a deep fake and I want out.
Mariah, we need like another 2 hours because you're like cracking in, and I'm like, man, I can go off on that right there. I think intersection, right?
Yeah.
We're at a lot of intersections.
Yeah.
We're at like one of those like LA style cloverleaf, 4 different highways going into one, and overpasses and underpasses. And it's like, because there is so much good. It's like splitting hairs, and you're dancing this fine line between like, okay, that's a really good thing. And then next thing you know, it's like, wow, it's not.
Right.
And I think that in so many different ways, and it's such a very broad, vague statement intentionally, because, you can take it and you can go in this direction. You can use it with the idea of creation. You can use it with marketing and, like your audience. Well, what is your goal? What is your idea of success? Your idea of success is going to be different than somebody who's walking around with a selfie stick vlogging on a Sony ZV-E1 who just wants to get something out for their YouTube crowd. And I think it's easy to judge from afar, and it's easy to judge on the surface level. And it's like, at the end of the day, I think if that person's happy, if they're hitting their goal, if they're not hurting anybody, is it really that wrong? Because then you get into like our boomer conversation from earlier. So we're tying this full circle. This quote unquote boomer mentality of like, well, no, that's a bad thing. And if it's not Scorsese, I don't want it. And it's like, well, no, this is a new generation. And let them do their thing. You don't have to partake to use the TV. You can change the channel.
That's a great.
You can turn Netflix off and you can put on network TV. Or like sometimes my son wants Spotify and sometimes he wants to listen to the radio.
Yeah.
And I think there's different flavors for different people, different flavors for different moments. Sometimes you listen to classical, sometimes you listen to hip hop.
That is true.
And I think access is always a great thing. And I'll leave it there. Now, Mariah, this is such a good conversation. Now I want to listen to the podcast. Tell us what your podcast name is and shout that out.
Sure. So my podcast name is The Little Souvenirs Podcast. And why we have the title The Little Souvenirs is every moment in life gifts us something to reflect back on. Whether I'm traveling and thinking about bringing a camera, because that just happened to me. And I was like, maybe I should make travel content. That's me right now. But every moment gifts us with something. And we invite people to come and talk about those moments on our podcast.
I love that. I got to check it. It's on all major platforms?
So we're just on Spotify right now. We're slowly building, and we just went through a big rebrand. So, big for me, big for the co-creator, small on a scale. So we just went through a rebrand for our second season. So we're on Spotify, and you can find us on Instagram.
I love it. Well, thank you for your time and sitting down. This was a great conversation.
This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
Awesome, Mariah. That really was awesome.
Thank you so much. That was so cool.
Bild speaker Ben Von Wong was a guest on an episode about building websites back in February 2023. So Mike and Jill welcomed the opportunity to catch up with him on the expo's second day. The conversation took a surprising twist as Ben described challenges he faced in finding meaning amid a struggle for work-life balance.
You want to start recording?
Yeah.
1, 2,
Have
3.
you-
1, 2, 3.
Okay.
We're rolling.
Ben Von
Hey.
Wong, very sleepy Ben Von Wong at the Bild conference.
Hey, Ben, how you doing? What
I'm
brings
doing
you
good.
to Bild?
I'm speaking at 5 o'clock. I hear there's going to be a lineup of enthusiastic individuals that want to hear me talk about something. And so my intention is to go do a survey of the participants before my presentation to see if I need to incorporate anything different in there.
And you're closing the show.
I am closing the show. I'm going to put everyone to sleep.
No way.
No, it should be good. I'm excited.
So, what have you been up to? We did a podcast with you, what was it, 3 years ago, about building websites and
With Alex Vita.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, with Alex Vita.
Vita.
Yeah.
Very
And
cool.
promoting your work and what have you been up to since then?
So, it's so interesting. Like 3 years ago, I was actually on the verge of contemplating quitting my career as a creative person. I was
Whoa.
feeling really tired and burnt out. I was feeling underpaid, under-resourced, and I was like putting so much energy out in the world hoping to create change. And I think as an activist, like you spend most of your time losing.
Yeah.
Like even if your project is a success, usually the trajectory.
The arc of history, it bends
like-
towards justice, but it's extremely long.
It's really, really hard. And so I was just like, does any of this matter? Like I should probably go and do something that's more more tangible, that I can see the effect of what I'm doing.
Right.
And I went through this whole 9-month journey of just reconsidering everything and ultimately coming to the conclusion that I needed to figure out for myself, like what was enough, like how much is enough impact, how much is enough success, how much is enough money, how much is enough everything. And in that journey of enoughness, I realized that actually my life was actually pretty awesome and that nobody else was doing what I was doing. And when I was looking at a job description for a job, anyone else could do that job. That's why there's a whole job portal for it. Whereas what I'm doing is something that I uniquely can do, and I have not found anyone else that can do it. And then also removing my ego from the thing was kind of helpful because which one artist is going to change the course of the world? I mean, I think these are stories that we tell, but really we're part of a greater ecosystem and we each have a role to play. And to put that burden on myself is kind of unrealistic. And then finally, making sure that I understand how much is enough for me, meaning that I need to put aside resources and energy and time for myself to resource myself and to make sure that I can get recharged and to no longer come at my work from a place of burden, but rather one of love and saying oh, I don't need to do this. I want to do this. I feel honored that I have the opportunity to do this.
Was that a reframe?
So that was a huge reframe, yeah. So I've had a long sequence of reframes over the last 2-3 years. And, it's one thing to speak about it here because it just sounds so flippant, oh yeah, we just did this.
Right.
The truth is it's a lot more nuanced than that.
Yeah. 9 months in the wilderness.
It's probably more than 9 months. I mean, it's been an ongoing 3-year journey. But in this moment right now, I feel great. I'm doing the exact same work, but I feel great.
It's interesting. I remember recording that podcast, and that was about designing websites. But there may have been something that you said within that context of that 2-hour conversation where because what you're describing, it sounds like this is something that I kind of innately knew that you were perhaps struggling with, even though you didn't say that, out loud.
We don't talk about our struggles online.
Right, but I think I felt something there. But yeah.
No, I definitely, I think at that time, you would if you were looking for it, you could probably notice the tortured artist thing kind of on the undercurrent of it and the struggle of just trying to know whether or not the work is relevant and really needing to believe in yourself. I think that's just something that we all struggle with, right? You lose everything you do becomes so normalized that from your perspective, you're just waking up and doing the day-to-day stuff. But from the outside, it always looks fantastic and new and different. But the day-to-day is kind of a grind. Yeah.
Yeah. So what are the most recent things you've been working on?
So the last installation that I made was a 2.5-story tall Jenga tower at the UN Biodiversity Conference. And it was made from 33 different metal blocks where each and every block represented a different ecosystem. So we had 13 different ecosystems. We had aquatic ecosystems, kind of terrestrial ones. We had mountains, we had rainforests, we had lakes. And these are all made from living plants. And on the top of this very unstable Jenga tower, we had sculptures of 3 kids to show that we're not separate from nature, we're a part of nature. And all around that sculpture, we had all these different blocks of the leading causes of biodiversity loss. So dioramas of factory farming, chemical pollution, plastic pollution, deforestation, all these different things. And it wasn't just an installation that we built, it was one that we built at the heart of the UN Biodiversity Conference. So 24,000 delegates, 193 different countries walking through this thing each and every single day.
Wow.
And at the end...
They had to walk through it?
Yeah, they had to walk past it. It was just in the heart of the blue zone of the negotiations. And people were creating all sorts of content around it. It was really cool. And at the end, we donated it to the Botanical Gardens of Cali in Colombia. And so now there's 100,000 kids that go through there every single year and now get to like feel that emotional piece of like, what is biodiversity? What does that mean? What does interconnectedness actually look like? And can
Right.
actually like get a sense of that. So that's the last big project that I did. And since then, I've had one nice failure. I was really trying hard to build a giant 2.5 stories tall sculpture of the Earth, where the oceans had been replaced by illegal fishing nets.
Whoa.
And I wanted to do that at the UN Ocean Conference. But after getting permission, they kind of like revoked permission for the installation because the presidential office came in and blocked it. And I don't have any proof, but like it's all sort of like back end sort of like investigation and like why did they not let us do this thing? And the hypothesis is that like there's a really strong fishing lobby in
Right.
France, and they just were like, we don't want this kind of attention. And I think on the one hand, it's really frustrating, and then on the other hand, it's like, this is really cool. Like it means that the art is working. It means that the art has power. It means that people are scared. It's like,
Yeah.
this is a good thing. And you know, the concept is kind of evergreen because all these problems that are affecting the ocean are not changing. They're still going to be there. And so like COP31, I think is supposed to be in Australia. They haven't announced it officially yet. But if it's in Australia, then that might be a more cooperative government. Pacific Island nations are going to be represented. The theme of the ocean will be very present. I think it's going to be a blue COP. And so that will be the place to go and put this on display and try to affect change in that way.
Find the right place and the right time.
Yeah. So as of late, the current theory of change and the way that I'm trying to get involved is right place, right time, right people. Like, how do you go to the right place at the right time and talk to the right people? And it's like, I cannot ever claim that my work will change anything on its own, but it can be part of that change. And so like what I try and aspire to do is help to create a potential symbolic moment or monument that can capture the essence of this time and the critical nature of it and like how important this moment in time actually is, so that it becomes more unforgettable than just, oh, it's another thing that's happening and one of many, infinite things. And I don't know. I can't tell you that like my work is important or not. It seems important when I talk to some people.
But it's
and
impactful.
But you don't know. You don't know. How do you measure this stuff? You don't know.
You measure it by the French fishing lobby.
Yeah,
blocking
by the
it.
French.
I mean,
Yeah.
in one ways, it's a great sort of measuring stick.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So that's what I'm doing. I'm keeping busy. I'm headed to Geneva soon. I'll be building a piece there. 6-meter tall sculpture. Rodin is the thinker, clutching a plastic bottle, holding a baby, frozen and in action, sitting on top of a sculpture of Mother Earth. And each and every day that goes by, we're going to drag pieces of plastic onto the installation until the whole thing is buried, because we're already 9 months behind schedule for the negotiations. It's potentially going to get delayed again. And so it could be like the perfect symbol to symbolize stalled negotiations.
When did you personally, is there a moment in time when you felt like, you know what, I feel like I need to do something about what's happening in the world with respect to nature and humans and the way we're not connecting?
I mean, I became an environmentalist a little bit by mistake. I, by 2016 or something, I had accumulated about 500,000 followers, and I was like, I'm creating content that's getting millions of views every single time, and what am I doing? I'm just getting likes, comments, and followers. And I was getting work, and I was like, but this feels kind of empty and pointless. There has to be something like deeper and more substantive, I think, to life and work. And so I just started watching documentaries, trying to figure out like, what are causes that I can talk about? And social causes are really hard to talk about if they don't affect you personally, because it's not your story to tell.
Right.
But environment affects everyone, and it can't speak for itself. And so that's how I stumbled into environmentalism and just started doing things. And once you start learning about issues, then you start, you can't unsee it. So you just participate in it deeper and deeper. And so, yeah, that's how it all started. And I think that as I got deeper and deeper into the environmental movement, and as the bad news just continues to increase and accelerate, the burden of duty and that weight that falls on your shoulders just increases. And at some point it becomes just sort of like impossible to sustain. You just kind of burn out. And So for me, last couple years have been really about trying to figure out how do I shift my activism from a place of duty to one of love.
Right.
And ironically, what that means is like, I need to take more vacations in nature. Like I need to get out there and actually enjoy and appreciate the
Right.
thing that you're trying to protect.
Right. There you
because
go.
for me, it almost
Yeah.
exists in an
Yeah.
abstract.
Right.
It's just an abstraction.
Right.
It's a set of papers and graphs and stuff. But no, I
Right.
need to get out there and I need to be like, I live in New York. When I get out of New York and I go to like some forest, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so wonderful. And so it's like, it's helpful to really like feel its absence
Yes.
and then to crave its presence. And then I think now when I create more from that place and that space, it feels very different because
Right.
it feels more like a privilege. It's like, it's so amazing that I can have a life that is dedicated to doing something meaningful and hopefully like net positive. Like it's just everything that I do is directed towards making the world into a net positive place and to leave it better than I found it. And so that feels like a gift, you know, even though it's hard, but it still feels like a gift.
But it's so true. That resonates with me in terms of thinking about this abstractly as photographs, as graphs, as data points, as statistics, and getting out of that headspace and actually enjoying the actual thing that, otherwise, what's the point? It's sort of like,
Exactly.
I'm fighting this abstract, like mathematical graph. No, that's not really the whole deal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to remember why you're fighting
Right.
and what you're fighting for. And that requires actually living life, not just living for the purpose of working better. You know, like you need to like lean into like life too and live fully and know like, wow, this is worth protecting. Like there are amazing humans here that I love and want to celebrate. There are amazing people and places and cities and cultures that are all worth fighting for and protecting and listening to and learning from.
So one thing that's always intrigued me about your work, and I've known about it for quite a long time, is the sense of community involvement that you generated with your very early stuff.
Yeah.
With sourcing materials from people, getting people to volunteer to help you build things and create things. How has that evolved, would you say?
Yeah, it's still very much a part of it. You know, it started off as a resource scarcity thing. Like, you
hey,
know,
who has a camera I can borrow?
Yeah, exactly. It's like I can't hire a videographer, so I need someone to come do it for free. I can't hire a makeup artist, so I need them to come for free. I can't hire a model, so I need a model for free. I can't pay for a location, so does anyone know a location? And I need some help carrying these lights. Like, does anyone want to help? And so, like, that's just how it started. And so it became these little, like, community gathering opportunities. And then the exchange was like, we'll capture great images and we'll have videos and we'll credit and tag everyone, right? So it's like, it is just exposure, but, you know, we're all creative. So, like, let's just get out there and create and push the boundaries. Like, what have you never created before? And like, how can I help you build your portfolio? Like, what are the images that I can help you capture? Right? That energy of just like, rising tide lifts all ships sort of a thing. And as I went and I've had numerous shifts, I think I've never suffered from the burden of being too commercially successful. Like I've always just kind of made it. And so like any commercial success I've had was somewhat short-lived. And so this sense of like resource scarcity has kind of always trailed me, primarily because I never stuck to one thing long enough to get great at it. I'd get like good enough and I'd be like, cool, let's start something new. And then I'd be like back to zero and I need to figure it all out again. And the only way you figure that out again was community. So you're like always going out, you're always starting over, you're always learning from people. And, you know, these days it's kind of changed a little bit because I have now been doing environmental themed art installations and storytelling for a solid chunk of time. Like since 2016, I've been doing environmental themed stuff. And then since 2019, I've been doing environmental themed installations. And so now it's 2025. I can't really say I'm a like complete newbie at it anymore. Like I actually have like a track record. I've done it. But now I see it actually as like an opportunity. Like when I'm going to Geneva now and I'm saying like, guys, the Global Plastics Treaty is here and you can get involved. Like we're going to put up posters in every single school, in every single summer camp, in every little supermarket so that the people here can have their voices heard and their materials can really tell a story in a unique and interesting way. And you can be a part of that. And it won't just be part of anyone. We got delegates from 190 countries. They're all coming here. And we're going to use art to do it because like art is the one kind of universal language that can actually explain something that doesn't require any words. Like, isn't this cool? Do you want to be a part of this? And now we need to find foundations. Now we need to find students. We need to find volunteers. We need to find videographers. We need to find storytellers. We need to find influencers. We need to find like all these different things so that the story can get out there. And it means that the only way it actually happens is if people participate. And so it becomes a community project, and it becomes something that is bigger than the sum of its parts. And I think that there's something uniquely cool about that. Because that's sort of like what it takes to fix the world. It's not one person coming in and saying like, I got a deep pocket, I'm gonna solve it all. It's about everyone coming in with their expertise and figuring out how they can contribute and what they're gonna do differently. And I think it's just so magical when that happens.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. And it's a pain in the ass. It's hard. I'm not going to say it's easy. It is not easy. It is not easy.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
All the more power to you, Ben.
Yeah.
It's just
trying, dancing, if anyone's in Geneva listening to the podcast, we need help. We need help. Mid-July to beginning of August. We need hands. We need dollars, but I don't do crowdfunding. I just think there's so much money in the world that is just lying around, and it's concentrated in the hands of a few. And I've been so adamant about not selling my work and just offering content for free to everyone, because I think that it's only powerful if everyone enjoys it. But yeah, we're trying to find foundation money, high net worth individual money. And these are expensive projects. They're 6-figure projects, so they require a fair bit of funding. So it's currently the dance. But fundraising, by the way, which gets a bad rap. I think everyone hates fundraising. I have loved fundraising specifically because the act of learning how to fundraise for me meant that I had to first believe in my own work.
Correct.
Before asking anyone else for money. And it turns out that after a decade of doing this stuff, I still didn't believe in my own work, which is a huge reason why I was about to change careers, and I was just really feeling under-resourced. I was like, does it even matter?
Yeah.
But now, as I've started fundraising and really looking for the opportunities that I want to support, that I believe are worth the investment, it has changed my relationship to my own work. And so it's really interesting.
That's really interesting.
It's just really, really interesting.
Yeah. The way you uncover it,
it just flips things around. I mean, it still doesn't make fundraising any easier, but my relationship to my art has improved since begging people for money.
Right.
that is so great to hear.
Isn't that funny?
It's amazing.
So you can this is one of the fun things about being a storyteller.
Yeah.
I think you can find the stories in your own life that need to be rewritten and find ways of rewriting it. And that's so powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways.
Benjamin Von Wong, thank you so much for participating in this conversation.
Thanks for hearing me ramble about my life.
It's all good. It's all good. It was a good
Great
ramble.
to see you.
So that's a wrap on our Build 2025 recap. Huge thanks to the inspiring mix of attendees, Build presenters, incredible vendors and partners, and last but not least, all the hardworking B&H teams who made the show an overwhelming success. We spoke with a lot of people during the expo, but we'd especially like to acknowledge our recorded chats with Josiane Dar, Justin Von Braun, Arrow Gutschall, Chu Gooden, Isaiah and Hensley, and Jose. Finally, if anyone we met at Build is listening now, thank you for stopping by to chat and for joining us here as well. If you're a fan of the show but not yet a subscriber, please head on over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, B&H's YouTube channel, or wherever you get your podcasts and click subscribe. You can also find us on the Explorer blog, where we post photos from our guests along with show notes. And please join us on Facebook at the B&H Photography Podcast Group, where you can share your favorite photos and comment about the show. I'm your host, Derek Fosbender. Jill Waterman is our creative producer. Episodes are recorded, mixed, and edited by technical producer Mike Weinstein, and our executive producer is Richard Stevens. On behalf of us all, thank you so much for tuning in today.